Wisconsin at 22. It's going to be a good game, John. I'm excited for it. As we take a quick break in honor of the ACC's commitment to unity all season long. Let's play some soccer from Alumni Stadium. Top 25 Midwest Showdown sees number 22 Wisconsin take on number 16 Notre Dame. Both teams coming off big outings last time out. Wisconsin is coming off a 3-0 victory over Green Bay. Meanwhile, Notre Dame took down Illinois last Sunday by a score of 4-0. We mentioned in the opener, these are two unbeaten teams. Wisconsin sitting at 2-0-2. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, it's been a clean slate, 4-0.
Absolutely. Even though the rankings may show that they're a really good team, these teams could be very, very good at the end of the year, and it's going to be interesting to see how they compete today.
There's a touch from Corbin Albert, the all-ACC caliber player. She'll send it to the box, looking for Olivia Wingate, who tips one over the head and just goes wide of that net. My goodness, almost fireworks in this first 60 seconds, John. It's going to be a fun one tonight.
Absolutely. This is the definition of Coach Norman's offense. This is something that Wisconsin's got to keep track of, because already the fireworks are already starting, as you said, Patrick. Olivia Wingate's already going over the top already, and the Wisconsin's getting an early wake-up call right now in this game.
And here's something we're going to see a lot of tonight as well, corner kicks for Notre Dame. They average 11.5 in a game. That leads the nation. Here's Kiki Van Zandt. She'll just send it towards the top of the box, and it kind of works in Wisconsin's favor as they're able to head it away. Notre Dame this season out-shooting opponents 96-11. They're 4-0, John, but it's been a dominant 4-0 as they're back in the box as well. Kiki Van Zandt tries her luck. Just a little bit of a quick shot, and it goes right into the goalkeeper's hands, McKinney.
You saw their 96-11 shots, and as we already see, we're already 2 minutes into this game, and Notre Dame's already got 2 good shots on goal already. And that's just how they've accumulated so many goals over time. They just keep giving themselves opportunities to try and score. And that's something Wisconsin has to suffocate on the defensive side in order to keep them at bay.
Absolutely, John. If there's one thing we know about this Notre Dame team, they love to run. They love to push the tempo. And Coach Norman, he himself is a big advocate. The other day in his press conference, that's literally what he said, word for word. We're going to run. We're going to push the tempo. We're going to wear you down. We're going to make it miserable for the opponent. And we'll see if they can do that today with this Wisconsin team, a team that is really good defensively. They're led by a good goalkeeper in Erin McKinney. They also have a good back line. You mentioned Aiden McConnell, an all Big Ten caliber player as well. So 2 players, as well as this entire Wisconsin back line and mid-forwards that like to play a little bit more back. They're going to make it difficult for Notre Dame to score, more or less get shots.
Absolutely. You mentioned Aiden McConnell there. We talked to Coach Paulo. Paulo said that she was one of the most important parts of this Wisconsin defense.
Well, here's Emma Jaskinek getting her first real touch of the contest. You mentioned Jaskinek's hot start, 2 goals on the season, an assist as well. That's 5 points. Good for first on her team. And she's riding a 3-game point streak as well. Comes off last match where she delivered the game-winning goal versus Green Bay. And Jaskinek's someone that this team really looks to as their senior leader. Head coach Paula Wilkins mentioned she's taken on a new role this season. She scored a bunch last year, but this year she's the leader. She brings the confidence. When she goes, the team goes. Corner kick taken by McConnell. Sent towards the box. Leah Klinke got a head on it. Looks like we may have a player down for the Irish.
As you said, Emma Jaskinek coming back and being taking a different role for this Wisconsin team. She's playing more of a leadership role and a much more active one, especially that Coach Paula said, especially with the new recruits on the board. Riley Howard, who's a freshman forward, coming to help this Wisconsin offense get get some more firepower back on its feet.
Well, speaking of Riley Howard, she gets a touch and able to show off some of her dribble moves against that Notre Dame back line. Sent towards the box. Jaskinek has it at her feet, and it's kicked away by Winia Hudson. So Notre Dame goalies, they haven't faced quite these attacks we've seen early from Wisconsin. We mentioned that statistic. Notre Dame's opponents only able to get 11 shots through 4 matches. So a little bit of pressure for that back line, and Mackenzie Wood, who's starting in goal for Notre Dame today.
Absolutely. Wisconsin's really controlling the tempo here. They're not letting Notre Dame play their game, especially early on right now. You got to play disciplined. That's what Coach Paula said to us earlier. She said, let's stay disciplined, especially on defense, and not allow them to go over the top and get the ball in the midfield. Keep them at the wings. And right now, Wisconsin already challenging Notre Dame in the midfield.
Here's Corbin Albert. She wants to run. She'll send it up ahead to Brianna Martinez, but a little bit of a wayward pass, and it heads on out of play. Sent down the field again, this time for Kati Druzina. Notre Dame retains possession. And again, you can see, play like that, they get it on the sideline, they want to run. They don't want the defense to set up, and that's kind of what Coach Norman, each practice, preaching that to his players day in, day out.
Absolutely. Notre Dame is really good at pinpointing seams and openings in defenses, and especially right there, what we saw with Olivia Wingate and Mercado. Just having 2 quick touches, that's just opening doors for them to get more shots off.
There's Olivia Wingate. But loses it immediately to that Wisconsin defense. You can see a lot of their players really playing back, playing in a more defensive role. This time it's taken away by Maddie Mercado. She'll send it to Wingate, who's in the box, one-on-one, but ball heads past both of them. Looks like we might have a whistle this time against Corbin Albert of the Irish, so Wisconsin will take over.
Corbin Albert really showed off her footwork there, especially against Wisconsin defense. But Mercado there taking away the ball, intercepting the ball there, and giving Olivia Wingate an opportunity to try and get an early score on. Just simple things like that, just intercepting passes, disrupting the flow of play. That's something Notre Dame is going to be taking advantage of, and something that Wisconsin cannot afford to do, especially early on in a game.
Well, absolutely. Head coach Paula Wilkins talked about it before this match. She knows that Notre Dame is a good team at keeping possession. You can't give them extra positions. They love to run. They love to score in transition. And plays like that are what ND really thrives on. Wisconsin able to kind of get away with unscathed from that one. But for the rest of the game, definitely something to watch as Kiki Van Zandt able to take that one away. She'll send it up to Wingate, who rips a shot off the hand of McKinney and saved.
Just a simple error there by Wisconsin. Notre Dame's putting on the pressure, and I don't think Wisconsin's used to this type of pressure from an opponent. Notre Dame intercepts the pass just simply and just places it up to Olivia Wingate. Give them another opportunity.
Notre Dame pressuring early, 3 shots on goal. So McKinney definitely has her work cut out for her today. We talk about Erin McKinney. She's got big shoes to fill, John, replacing Jordan Bloomer, one of the best goalies of the collegiate game the last 4 years. Big shoes to fill, but so far this season, 3 shutouts, as you see on her screen. She's been doing quite the job.
Absolutely. I mean, she spent 4 seasons kind of learning underneath Bloomer, and she seems to have done it so far, Coach Paula said. that she plays big, has had a really good spring games, and manages the game very well. And that's something, especially with the composure at goalie, that's something she's going to need, especially in a high-pressure game and a big game like this against Notre Dame.
Here's Notre Dame on the attack. Push 10 players across that midfield line. Maddie Mercado finds herself on the turf. And nothing to come of that attack for Notre Dame. But yeah, Erin McKinney, these Force 4 matches for Wisconsin, doing an incredible job. Not to mention those first 2 matches this season, Wisconsin started with a Texas road trip, playing against Baylor and TCU. TCU, one of the best teams in the country, and it ended in a 0-0 tie, and able to keep that TCU offense in check. That's a TCU offense that scored 7 goals and 5 goals, respectively, in their last 2 contests. So no easy match, and McKinney, in what was her first career start, able to go out and pitch a shutout like that. It speaks volumes for this Wisconsin defense, and it gives her a ton of confidence going forward.
Absolutely, and that's something she can build off of, especially moving forward into that Big Ten lineup with the schedule moving forward. But right now, she has to deal with this Notre Dame offense that's already got 4 shots on goal.
Here's Wisconsin now looking to get their offensive attack rolling. No shots on the day for the Badgers team, as we're about 11 minutes into tonight's match. Notre Dame has not allowed a goal in this 2022 campaign yet, John. They're one of 12 teams in the country who haven't surrendered a goal this season yet.
Absolutely, and it's saying something for this defense to have 4 shutouts so far in 4 games.
Here's Wingate. She'll send it towards the box, headed away by McConnell and that Badger defense. And not to mention, this is a Notre Dame team they've had a duo of goalies, Ashley Naylor and Mackenzie Wood. They've been splitting duties. Mackenzie Wood making her 3rd start of the season. So both goalies have been able to work with that back line effectively. It's really a team collective effort for this Notre Dame defense.
Absolutely, and Naylor and Wood are both experienced goalkeepers. Wood a graduate coming from Northwestern, and Naylor a returning starter for this Notre Dame team.
Matriano gets a touch. She fires a shot, but it's blocked. Yeah, Martinez, same luck and same result against that Badger defense.
There's something to be said, especially when you have 2 goalkeepers to kind of rotate in and out, see who's having a good day and who's having a good game. Coach Norman was saying in his press conference the other day, it's just nice to have 2 of the best goalkeepers in the nation on your roster.
It's hard to argue with the results, 0 goals. I mean, Coach Norman definitely has a tremendous defense, and again, a lot of it has to do this season with Notre Dame's possession control. They've been able to keep possession on the offensive side of the field so effectively that their defense has, had time to rest, hasn't had to deal with as many shots, and obviously a big reason as well. Not to mention the back line for Notre Dame, so talented. Player like Ava Gattino, who was named to the Mac Herman Trophy Award watch list, which honors the best collegiate player in the country. So you can see the talent that Notre Dame has from top to bottom on this roster. Here's Gabby Green getting a touch. She'll use that left foot to send it towards kind of the center of the box. It's headed away by Leah Klinke. Corbin Albert give and go with her teammate Maddie Mercado, who then sends it to Kati Drzina on the left wing. Here's Van Zanten. She wants to run in the box with numbers for Notre Dame. You can see all the white jerseys on your screen pressing down towards that Wisconsin area of the field.
Wisconsin was in a good position there on the Notre Dame defensive side to try and get a score, but just some miscommunication there with the passing. Didn't go their way, and then all of a sudden Notre Dame just goes full throttle and gets down to the other side of the pitch. But you were mentioning earlier how Coach Norman really requires his team to really play at a high tempo. A lot of what he relies on is players who will consistently do that for 45 minutes, 90 minutes in a game. Just continue the engine going. Don't slow down. Don't stop.
Well, you mentioned 45 minutes, and that's a good point. This is a Notre Dame team that likes to use their bench to their advantage. They'll bring in a lot of substitutions, as we'll probably see in the next 10 to 15 minutes of this first half. But you mentioned you gotta have fresh legs if you want to run. That's why Notre Dame's depth has been crucial so far to this season, and it'll most likely play a role tonight versus Wisconsin. Ball is sent towards the box by Ava Gattino. There's Coach Norman of the Fighting Irish, coming off his best season last year, now in his 5th year at the helm of this Notre Dame women's soccer program, and he feels that last season really was a breakthrough, John. He got his players going in the right direction, a Sweet 16 appearance, and now this year he brings a lot of veterans back with a lot of experience, adds in some grad transfers, and then also some freshmen in the mix making an impact as well. So really the pieces are there for Notre Dame. What do they have to do to really make a run this year to compete with some of the ACC's best teams and ultimately compete in the NCAA tournament?
Well, I think the first thing is always you have to gel well. I think that when you have new players coming in, whether they're veterans or new recruits on the freshman side, you got to be able to have them synergize well with your returning players. And Coach Norman's done a really good job, like a spectacular job, with integrating those new pieces into the lineup. He's got a team full of vets who handled the pressure last year as they went deep into the NCAA tournament. But he's also bringing in new players that are also hungry to prove themselves. We mentioned Leah Klinke in the open there. She's just one of the many new recruits that he has on this roster that's already proving their money's worth.
Absolutely. 5 points on the season for the freshman Leah Klinke, 2 of them goals, 1 of them an assist. Here's Olivia Wingate. She's searching for that 3rd goal in the season. Had 2 in a match earlier this year, her 2nd career brace. Nearly 18 minutes into this contest. Here's Olivia Wingate, and she'll be flagged by the referee. A little bit too quick on that one. She'll be hit with the offsides call.
Just a step too far out for Olivia Wingate. She's trying to time it well, but she got caught there this time.
And that's been one of areas of Notre Dame's game that's kind of held them back coming in this contest. They've had 11 offsides in their matches, their opponents only 5. It kind of makes sense given Notre Dame's tempo and how they've been able to control ball possession, where opponents really haven't found themselves in the position, too so often in a game to be in offsides penalty, spot. But again, that's one of the areas, it's going to happen when you decide to run and gun so much like Notre Dame's offense does.
Absolutely, especially with going over the top like that, going from the back line directly into the offensive side. It's bound to happen, and it's just something that Coach Norman understands. He understands that, hey, we might get caught off sometimes. We might make some simple mistakes. We might miss the shot every now and then. That just means that we're going to continue what we're doing and see, with as many times as we can get shots on goal, one of them is going to convert.
Here's Brianna Martinez, a lot of green grass in front of her. She goes to that left foot, taken down, and ends up on the carpet. Doesn't look like a call will be coming.
That was a great run by Martinez, but just unfortunate there. She couldn't keep her balance and get the ball off to Olivia Wingate in time.
As Corbin Albert controlling that tempo for Notre Dame. Coming off a breakout freshman campaign a year ago where she was second nationally among freshmen in goals scored, able to find the back of the net 12 times in an Irish jersey last season as a freshman. This summer, spent it training with Team USA. She was named to the U.S. U20 World Cup team. Played some time down there in Costa Rica in August in a tournament, and she missed the season opener for Notre Dame, but hasn't slowed her down. Able to be out there with her team now and get back to full speed.
Absolutely, and especially with being down there in the summer, she's continuing the training into the summer, and that she's continuing to play at a high level. And so coming back from the U20 national women's team into the Notre Dame roster, into the Notre Dame lineup, right into the season, she's just jumping from one team to another at such a high tempo. So,
not to mention Kiki Van Zanten of Notre Dame. Spent the summer with Team Jamaica, helped them qualify for next year's World Cup. So she'll be playing in that after she graduates this spring. Exciting time as a college kid to be able to do that.
absolutely, the experience of being able to not just represent a team, but also represent your country. I mean, that's almost an opportunity of a lifetime there. Being able to travel around the world, play the game you love, and play for the country you're in. One-of-a-kind experience that she can have and share with the other players on the roster and get them hungry to possibly do the same as her.
So we're nearly 22 minutes into this first half. Notre Dame 6 shots on the night, 3 of them on goal. Meanwhile, for Wisconsin, unable to fire off a shot on goal yet. They've pressured with some corner kicks and had some minor opportunities, but nothing to show for it on the stat sheet for this Badgers offense yet. Wisconsin will bring on the first sub of tonight's contest. Arissa Mart checks in place of Riley Howard. Mart's a transfer from the University of San Diego, where she made 19 career starts, had 3 goals over 2 seasons. John, this is a Wisconsin team. They've had 3 players in the preseason named to the Big Ten players to watch list. Emma Jaskinik, Aiden McConnell, and Natalie Vigiano. We talked about Jaskinik, we talked about McConnell, but how about Natalie Vigiano? She's one of those players come back for her grad senior year. As we take a quick look at this last play near midfield, Dara Andriga and Kiki Van Zanten both hit the ground. Dara Andriga ends up with a yellow card. So Notre Dame with a big opportunity here. They'll put 10 bodies past that midfield line. It'll be Ava Gattino taking a free kick from inside the circle.
And that's something that, being early in this game, Notre Dame can take advantage of. They can attack the player who has a yellow card. If you have a yellow card, you can't really try and be too aggressive, especially on defense. You can't try and be physical or too physical, or else you might be drawing another yellow and a red. So Andriga's going to have to watch her step for the rest of the game, and that might be something that might hinder her, especially on defense against this Notre Dame offense.
Gattino with a Hail Mary-like pass, looking for Olivia Wingate. Able to keep one defender down. Now she has one-on-one opportunity here, working up against Gabby Green, but Green gets the best of her. Able to kick that one towards the sideline.
That was a great ball by Gaetino, all the way back from almost her own 18 and all the way up to Wingate there. Wingate with a nice settle to settle the ball in front of her and get quickly back into position to try and strike. It's just unfortunate that she didn't see the top of the box. Possibly Corbin Albert was open.
So we talked about Notre Dame's depth, John. They just brought on 3 subs, Erin Hohenstein, Katie Coyle, and Ellie Osbeck. There's newly entered Katie Coyle. She gets a touch, but it's kicked away by that Badgers defense. Katie Coyle and Ellie Osbeck, who just entered the match. They're coming off an Illinois game where they had 2 goals off the bench, so you can see the fireworks. They're all over this Notre Dame roster, starting on the bench. Everybody's getting involved. Notre Dame has had 7 different goal scorers on the 2022 season so far.
Absolutely. I mean, it just shows that, as you said, the depth, and not only that, but the type of offense that Norman runs. You'd think that it'd be the top 2 scorers would be on the front line of the offense, the forwards, but everyone's getting involved, the defenders, the midfielders, and the forwards.
Osbeck has her pass kicked away by Liv Curry. Notre Dame already up to 5 corner kicks so far tonight. On pace for that 11.5 average they've had this season.
Corbin Albert really showing off her finesse there against the defender to open up some space and get a cross in. The clock stoppage as the refs go over to discuss with the others.
So we're back in action. John, what have you seen so far in this first half? We've seen Notre Dame control possession fairly well. It seems like they've kept the ball in the Wisconsin defense part of the field. But both sides, you know, definitely competing well. Notre Dame, 6 shots in the night, Wisconsin 0. So what have you seen on both sides? How can Wisconsin get involved more offensively?
Well, Notre Dame sticking to their patent-pending airstrike offense, just going over the top, trying to give themselves a lot of opportunities to score. But on the Wisconsin side, they've been trying to possess the ball and pass around, but the connections and passing has just been miscommunicated or intercepted just simply by the Notre Dame players, just continuing to put pressure on them. So Wisconsin's going to have to minimize those mistakes and play a little bit more slowly and play their game if they want to keep possession and get back on the Notre Dame defensive side of the ball.
Ashley Martinez of the Badgers checks in tonight's contest. Here's Hohenstein looking to set that offense up for Notre Dame. Katie Coyle streaking down that left wing is met by Izzy Verdugo. Throw in coming up for the Irish. We'll get another substitution for Notre Dame. Maddie Mercado will check out, and into the match comes Sophia Fisher. Had a goal this season earlier versus St. Louis on the road. Now in her sophomore year with Notre Dame. She was kind of the primary midfield substitute last year, kind of taking on that same role this year for Notre Dame now as a sophomore.
Absolutely. She had the second most goals in the freshman class last year, Sophia Fisher did. And she's been playing a pivotal part so far in this season.
Battle going on in the midfield area. Either team able to control possession two-handedly right now. Here comes Ellie Osbeck, one of those players who can really run for Notre Dame. Olivia Wingate working against two defenders, has it taken away, and it's cleared by that Badger defense.
Osbeck, they're really using the width of the field there to try and open up space and get back possession there from Gaetino. Came over to help Hudson on that transition ball. Transitions are going to be another key thing for the Wisconsin to try and take advantage of, because Notre Dame likes to go over the top and make a lot of opportunities for them. It's going to be proving their back line to be a little susceptible to transition balls and leave them a little vulnerable to that. Wisconsin may need to take advantage of that.
Osbeck sends it way towards that box. Kiki Van Zin unable to get a head on it. And Zin ended up in the goal. Ball didn't, but won't count the same. You can see Notre Dame really pushing, though, pushing that tempo. Absolutely, and we know Wisconsin needs a team effort tonight, John, but something that head coach Wilkins really wanted to emphasize to her team coming into this game is individual defense. Notre Dame has so many talented forwards, and to be able to guard them individually is so key for these Badger defenders.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a mix of talent here on the Notre Dame front line. You've got Albert and Klinke, who can beat you with their footwork. You've got Mercado and Wingate, who can beat you with your speed. And so it's going to be a matchup difference there with this Wisconsin defense to try and see who's going to take on the speed, who's going to take on the players who may try and pull some tricks out of their hats. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult there for the Irish. It's something that we'll have to see as the game develops.
Here's Albert with a lot of room in front of her. That's dangerous. She'll hand it off to Wingate, who looks for Van Zanten, who was entering the box, but ball is taken away. Here comes Arissa Mart. She'll send it downfield. No red jerseys, able to get to the ball in time.
So far, this Wisconsin team, who's mainly consisted of young players, is really contesting well against this Notre Dame team that's mainly consisted of veterans and experienced players.
Here's Wingate running a wide receiver-like route. Has the ball stripped. Who else? Aiden McConnell of that stout Wisconsin defense. Yeah, that's a good point, John. I mean, Aiden McConnell, one of the best players in the Big Ten as a defender, but she's only a sophomore, and she plays, well above her years. But a lot of young players on this Wisconsin starting lineup, especially on that back line. Not to mention, they're without Macy Monticello, their senior defender, who was a Big Ten All-Honoree last season. She's out this year with an injury, so a lot of young talent, as you mentioned, on that Wisconsin defense, and they're holding their own versus this Notre Dame team that has a lot more experienced forwards who've had success this year and haven't had it so far in this first 35 minutes tonight. Albert goes to that left foot, sends it, and it's saved big time by the goalkeeper, McKinney.
Ashley Zuzigay coming in for this Notre Dame lineup. Really stepping in and putting in some fresh legs there for the Irish as they've tried to go over the top once and twice and many more times against this Wisconsin defense. Wisconsin's holding their own with just only 7 shots by Notre Dame, keeping them at four shots on goal. Something to be said about this Wisconsin defense led by Aiden McConnell.
Absolutely. You mentioned Ashley Zuzigay coming in the game for the Irish. She's a grad transfer from Nebraska, saw a lot of time on their back line, so coming into this season, she brings a lot of experience to an already talented and veteran back line that Notre Dame has at their hands. Even played in the Big Ten, John. Hopes in games like these. Notre Dame themselves is coming off. Feels like they're joining the Big Ten with playing Illinois the other day, now playing Wisconsin, and then they'll be taking on Indiana and Purdue in the coming days. So a lot of good Midwestern teams really grinding it out in these next few weeks, and it's fun to watch.
Absolutely, because having to play against tough non-conference games, it really provides some experience for new players, especially for this Wisconsin team, to play against a great team like Notre Dame. Gives them that experience to get before they go into their gauntlet that is the Big Ten.
Big Ten, much like the ACC, a lot of really talented teams high in the rankings. You look at teams like Penn State and Rutgers, they're top 10 teams, and then Michigan just sneaking in the top 25 poll as well.
That's something that both teams here, Notre Dame and Wisconsin, can learn from each other, build off not just this game, but all their non-conference games before they hit conference matchups. Being able to understand each other, get some actual game time with each other to understand how each other thinks, how each other plays, what the tendencies are, what people like to do. It gives them valuable experience that they can build off of, especially going deeper and deeper into the season.
So with just about 7 minutes left in this first half, Notre Dame will give a pair of their talented forwards and midfielders in Corbin Albert and Olivia Wingate a quick rest. So we'll see Paige Peltier to come in, as well as Audrey Weiss replaces Wingate. Absolutely. We talked about that depth that Notre Dame has at their disposal, John. Look at all the subs we've seen in this first half. It benefits them so much. We talked about they want to run, and you need fresh legs, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. Olivia Wingate was really making a lot of, pretty much multiple track meets there, having to go over the top from Ava Gaetino. Just straight line running, but that's going to tire you out. And like you said, they need those fresh legs in order to keep the engine going, keep the machine running. That is this Notre Dame offense.
So Kaylee Ronan gets hit with the yellow card of Notre Dame. Wisconsin with an opportunity to push a lot of its team forward, but it's quickly given up. There's that turnover battle. Notre Dame looking to capitalize on it now. McConnell and Osbeck in a battle as Osbeck ends up on the floor.
Getting into the final moments, final minutes here in the first half, and this is going to be deciding factor for scoring. A lot of scoring can happen, not just early in the game, but also late when people have been in there 30, 40 minutes.
Punched away by McKinney. Gaetino behind all the defense, and there's a reason she was behind. She was offsides. So again, another offsides call against this Irish team that's probably getting a little antsy, given they have 0 goals tonight and the success they've had in scoring early versus opponents. This team different than what we've seen tonight.
Absolutely. Gaetino, I don't think was aware that the fact that she was still offsides. Being a defender herself, she just wasn't aware of the other team's line pushing up on her and giving her the offsides mark.
Substitution for Notre Dame. Maddie Mooney takes over in place of Wanai Hudson on that back line. Mooney, a sophomore from Seattle, Washington. One of those key substitutions of Notre Dame's stout back line. Here's Notre Dame with an opportunity. Numbers are forward, but Audrey Weiss loses possession to Maddie Eishog. Here's Fisher now, makes a move, goes to that right foot. Mooney sends it down towards the box. Looks like he was in search of Ashley Zuge.
There's another prime opportunity there for Notre Dame to score. They had, in the final moments, last time they were on home turf against Illinois, they scored in the last 5 minutes of the game. Or, excuse me, in the first half.
Well, it wasn't 5 minutes, John, last 10 seconds. A buzzer beater. Ellie Osbeck was the one who delivered that blow to Illinois. So maybe it's too early in the first half, or 3 minutes left. Kenzie Wood clears that one. And now Wisconsin has a throw-in coming. So they're able to push a lot of their players forward. Maybe go for a first half attack with under 3 minutes left in this first half. Ball sent in by Ashley Martinez. And if finds it where, ball comes right back to her. Pass intercepted by Maya Richters. Turnover battle in these last 60 seconds. No team able to claim possession and do much with the ball. Here's Katie Coyle looking for Paige Peltier. Gives it away, and it's cleared by Ada McConnell. We've reached the 60-second mark of this first half. Score knotted up at 0. We'll see if either team has late fireworks in this first half.
So far, Wisconsin's been able to keep this Irish offense at bay. Only 9 shots total, 4 shots on goal. It's something to say for Ada McConnell and Coach Powell's offense. Ada McConnell having to lead this offense and adapt in game. She's kind of the captain of that defense and really coordinate who's got who, where people should be, who should be playing what role on the defense. And that's important, especially going up against a fast and high-tempo team against Notre Dame.
First half will end. Score knotted up at 0. Why is that, John? No team able to break through yet.
Well, there's been a couple close calls, especially by Notre Dame, to try and get the ball into the back of Wisconsin's net, but Wisconsin is doing a stellar job on defense to keep them scoreless. And that's something that they can continue. They can have a chance to win this game.
Lights are on at Alumni Stadium. Come back for the second half. Tie ball game between Absolutely. We're just moments away from the second half beginning. If the first half brought 0 goals, we'll see what the second half has in store for us. But it kind of makes sense, John. I mean, you look at this. Notre Dame hasn't allowed a goal through 4 matches, and now at half, for Wisconsin, they've only given up 1 goal on the season, as the fans pack in Alumni Stadium for a top 25 showdown. A lot of fans from Wisconsin making the trip down to South Bend for this Thursday matchup. Let's play some soccer. Here's the second half from Alumni Stadium. Patrick Arnett, John French with you here on the ACC Network on a beautiful night from the campus of the University of Notre Dame.
You see there Wisconsin defeating Baylor and tying TCU. Goes to show that their defense is pretty stout and familiar with offenses that can put points on the board. And Notre Dame has that opportunity to try and change the narrative there, as they've already gone 1-0 after being tied in the first half after beating St. Louis.
Yeah, Wisconsin has found themselves in this similar position when they played TCU, one of the best teams in the country, earlier this season. It was 0-0 at the half and ended in a 0-0 tie, as Notre Dame looks to strike early, and that ball just a little bit too far and out of the reach of Brianna Martinez. Here's head coach Paula Wilkins of the Wisconsin Badgers. She said before this game, her team needs discipline, and also they need to be able to run with Notre Dame. Notre Dame, we mentioned, loves to run and gun, push the tempo, but these Wisconsin players got to bring that same energy and match Notre Dame every step of the way. And so far in the first half, we've seen that for the most part. Any chance Notre Dame has, Wisconsin has been right there every step of the way with them.
Absolutely. I mean, she knows that this Notre Dame team is good, and by good, they are good at keeping the tempo up, keeping you on your toes. But not only that, they've had to individually defend well against this Notre Dame squad and keep up not just their individual defending, but also their efforts, their ability to stay in the game, to keep their engines going and keep up with this Notre Dame team, both on the defensive and offensive side of the ball.
These two teams found themselves in a close matchup against each other just over a year ago today when they met. Notre Dame ended up taking that matchup 2-1 in overtime. It was Sammy Fisher who nailed the overtime penalty kick winner for Notre Dame. But again, a close game in that one. Not to mention Corbin Albert had her first career goal versus Wisconsin last year, so maybe she has some of that same luck in store for the Badgers.
Wingate here having to challenge this defense. Look at that touch, man. Just getting around a defender, and that burst of acceleration gets her around and gets up the field. Man, it's something that Notre Dame can use very effectively. It's something that they always use for their offense.
Tough to defend, John. No doubt about that. Been a matchup problem for every team she's played so far. That is Olivia Wingate. And the same goes for Wisconsin tonight. Here's Maddie Mercado showing that patience now. Pass to Drzina, just a little bit too far out of her reach. Looks like it was an offsides against Drzina, so Wisconsin will take over. Mercado dishes it off to Van Zanten. She'll take a shot. Blocked by Maddie Ishog. And Wisconsin's done a good job of keeping Maddie Mercado in check tonight. No shots for her. She is Notre Dame's leading goal scorer on the season. 3 goals on the year for Mercado, and she's been kind of the one who's been the table setter all year long offensively for Notre Dame, and so far Wisconsin really has shut her down, John.
Absolutely. I mean, Maddie Mercado, I mean, she's kind of the partner in crime with Olivia Wingate, and shutting down one of those offensive players can really make it a lot easier for yourself. I mean, you don't have to worry about this player because they're not getting any shots off. All you got to worry about is Wingate having to convert on one. And that just cuts down Notre Dame's offense in half by shutting down Maddie Mercado.
Here's Riley Howard. She wants to run for Wisconsin. Looks to dish it ahead to Jaskinik. Jaskinik and Klinke fight for the ball. Might have kept it in bounds, but a whistle will stop play, and ball will head towards Notre Dame's possession.
This is a great transition opportunity for Wisconsin to try and get ball, but Notre Dame defense getting back behind in time. Good job by Leah Klinke to challenge the ball and keep the ball from touching it, having it go out of bounds.
As Wisconsin now working offensively. Gives it off to Izzy Verdugo. Has it taken away by Van Zanten. Wingate, nifty move. But right there to meet her is that Wisconsin defense. That's Gabby Green. As we got a whistle coming, handball. And maybe Notre Dame will catch that break they need.
It's a dangerous opportunity here for the Irish to try and score, especially off a free kick. Corbin Albert against St. Louis scored that beautiful outside the box free kick that really ignited the Notre Dame offense there. This could be another one coming up.
I was just going to say, very, very similar spot to that St. Louis snipe that Corbin Albert had last week. Maybe a few feet further back, but either way, it looks like Corbin Albert will not be the one taking this free kick. Instead, Druzina fakes out. Mercado dishes it off to Albert, and here's the Notre Dame offense to set it up. Sailed way up top by Corbin Albert.
You said that she may have been taking the free kick, but they thought differently there as they kind of dummied it on the first free kick, and then Mercado passing it off to Corbin Albert. She's got a dangerous leg when it's on point. Possibly she's just getting warmed up.
As Van Zandt ends up on the ground right there. Wisconsin was trying to run right away. Had the referee stop them for a second as they wanted to let Notre Dame and Wisconsin themselves get set up. But here's Wisconsin now trying to push the pace. Verdugo dishes it off, and that pass ends up in the hands of Mackenzie Wood.
Saw that when the foul was committed by Notre Dame was quickly get in front of the ball, try and slow the game down to allow their defense to get set before Wisconsin had an opportunity to get the ball off.
Olivia Wingate attempting to chase down that goal kick. A big boot for Mackenzie Wood right there, but it goes all the way to the goalkeeper of Wisconsin, Erin McKinney. Kiki Van Zandt being chased. Oh boy, what a save. Erin McKinney found herself way out of position right there. Led to Maddie Mercado with a chance, and as we take another look, John.
Erin McKinney's really doing a nice job in keeper so far today. She intercepted that pass where Van Zandt was actually on point for that cross. McKinney intercepts it and gets right back on her feet to block the shot coming back out from Mercado. It's really great stuff so far.
Absolutely. I was going to say really, really good play by McKinney. Then she kind of lost it for a second, but then able to regain it and make even a more big-time play to record the save against Mercado's attempt.
Goes to show that all that experience playing against TCU earlier in Baylor, where they were putting up shots against her, seems like she's comfortable now with getting multiple rapid-fire ones in a row. She's settled in, she's comfortable. She's built off of that, and it's showing tonight.
Kati Druzina attempts to cross it in search of Mercado, but headed away by Aiden McConnell. Albert rips a snipe right into the hands of McKinney. Here's Riley Howard working up against Klinke, freshman on freshman. Howard shot sails just high of that crossbar. Heads up, we have a big out-of-conference matchup this Sunday with the third-ranked Bruins of UCLA taking on the top-ranked Tar Heels at noon on the ACC Network. Once again, that's Sunday at noon on the ACC Network. A lot of talent in this ACC, John. Right now, UCLA is taking on the second-ranked Duke Blue Devils right now. UCLA up 1-0 over Duke. But that one Sunday is going to be a fun one with North Carolina and UCLA. The talent on those three teams really, really immense, and you know, goes to show the depth the ACC has with Duke and UNC atop the rankings right now.
Absolutely. I mean, UCLA is literally going to be crossing town. They both live, Chapel Hill and Durham are literally a mile apart, so UCLA is going to be feeling like they're playing Duke or UNC twice in a row, having to play against two high-caliber teams.
Still on the play. Looks like Notre Dame will take possession. Mercado able to draw the foul. Shot from Olivia Wingate is saved once again by Erin McKinney.
And right there, the Irish take advantage of a mishit ball up the sideline, just quickly interrupting the flow of play, getting possession back, and quickly counter-striking. Using Olivia Wingate's first touch and acceleration to get a clean shot off.
Mackenzie Wood steps up and clears that one before any Badger player is able to get there in time. Matriano in search of Wingate, who is battling against McConnell. McConnell wins that battle. It's been a fun battle tonight, McConnell and Wingate.
Absolutely, McConnell's really showing nice poise there at the center back, not allowing Wingate to get behind her and get in front of the ball to touch it over McKinney's head. Just really great stuff by the center back so far.
Dino sends that one down towards the goalkeeper. Pass given away to Kiki Van Zanten, and now Notre Dame has a chance to run Van Zanten. And just like that, Van Zanten's pass intercepted. She was in search of Corbin Albert. Looks like Gabby Green took that one away. But Notre Dame finds it back. Here's Van Zanten with that left foot. Takes a shot. Ball is trickling around. Notre Dame still has possession. Druzina with a cross towards the center. And McKinney goes up top and saves it, punches it away. Looks like it actually may have been offsides against Notre Dame. So we'll take another look. You can see McKinney rising to the ranks right there, able to punch that one away.
That was great stuff by Olivia Wingate to keep the play alive. I'll allow McKinney to get a nice grasp of the ball on it and stop the play.
We have a Wisconsin player down on the field. It's Natalie Vigiano. She's now on her feet.
tough thing right now for Wisconsin. Vigiano's one of the core players of the midfield for them.
On your screen right now, you see the ACC teams currently ranked in the top 25 poll. We talked about two of those teams, UNC and Duke, obviously at 1 and 2 right now in the rankings. Those two teams really headline the ACC, but John, the ACC is a lot more than that. There's teams top to bottom that are really, really good. Notre Dame's one of those teams sitting at 16. A lot of talented teams around the ACC. What does Notre Dame have to do to navigate once they get to conference play in 2 weeks?
Well, they've already found their identity already with playing up-tempo. They understand their job. They understand each person's role on the team. They understand what they need to do to have their offense be successful. But now they need to take it to the next level. In order to compete with number 1 and number 2 in the same conference in the nation, you got to be able to not just play your identity, but be the best at it. And that's what Coach Norman said in his press conference. He said, now that we've identified ourselves, we need to be the best.
Here's Wingate trying to be the best. Boom! It took a while, but Notre Dame's on the scoreboard. They'll take a 1-0 lead over 22 Wisconsin, courtesy of Olivia Wingate, her 3rd goal on the season.
This is just a simple transition ball going from the Wisconsin offense to the defense. Hudson with just a simple ball over the top. And Wingate's right there. I mean, she's using her iconic speed to just get to the ball and just put it in the back of the net.
There it is, John. It took a while, but one of these teams breaks through. It'll be Notre Dame. And no surprise, it's their senior leader, Olivia Wingate. She started the season for them, scoring a brace in their season opener, and now she picks up where she left off. Her 3rd of the season, and it couldn't have come at a bigger time.
Absolutely. After she went scoreless in the first half, after so many close calls with the post and just missing it, she finally is able to convert one and give the Irish that much-needed goal to keep their momentum going, give them that spark that could spiral into more goals for them later in this half. Wisconsin, though, could have an opportunity to counter-strike. This is a perfect time, especially when a team scores a goal, to try and counterattack, as the defense will be a little bit relaxed. It doesn't seem so right now with the Irish.
Well, Notre Dame still wants to attack as well, following that goal scored by Wingate. Looks like Wanaya Hudson will be accredited with the assist for Wingate. Van Zanten looks to give it back to Wingate, but her pass just a little bit too much pace on it, and it ends up in McKinney's hands. We'll take another look at that goal scored by Wingate. You can see her big time pass from Hudson, and it just finds Wingate with a lot of green grass in front of her, and from there, it's really her goal scoring abilities that she's able to showcase.
Not just that, her timing was beautiful. She was behind the person she was being marked by, but another defender was just behind.
Don't look away now. Goal number 2, just 2 minutes later. Olivia Wingate, lightning strikes twice in the same spot, and she's got Notre Dame with a 2-point advantage over Wisconsin.
I can't even take a breath. And talk about one goal, Wingate's already putting up another. Again, Wingate using her arms to create a little bit of separation between the defender. And again, just showing that speed. She hasn't been stopped so far this season.
Able to sneak it through the legs of McKinney. Olivia Wingate, 4th goal on the season, her 2nd brace of the year. You talk about not being able to take a breath, Sean. I mean, we're looking at her last goal, and then you flash back to the screen. She's got her 2nd goal of the night.
Absolutely. I may be trying to take my breaths, but she's not. I mean, She's running a track meet out there, and she still looks like she can go the next 26 minutes full blown.
Absolutely, that's that Notre Dame speed and tempo. Able to attack after scoring a goal. So Kiki Van Zanten will get the assist on the second Olivia Wingate goal. Catino looking for Wingate for a third time. I mean, why not? Third time's the charm. But yeah, you talked about it, John. You know, you score a big goal. Oftentimes there's that letdown. Wisconsin, you know, with a chance to attack, but the opposite happens. Notre Dame keeps the pedal to the metal, and they're able to, you know, get a big-time goal, create a 2-0 lead in a game that has 25 minutes left in it. That second goal totally changes the energy, not just for Notre Dame, but for Wisconsin and the game overall.
Absolutely, it just changes the flow of the game. And you kind of have to hit the reset button, just keep moving forward, keep doing what you're doing. On Wisconsin side of the ball.
Corbin Albert wants in on the action as well, but she'll back it out. Dish it over to Katie Coyle, who finds Mercado. Here's another look at Olivia Wingate's second goal. Able to get to that left foot and makes it count. Both times deep passes to Olivia Wingate, one from Van Zanten, one from Hudson. But the same result, you know, you see the one-on-one ability that Wingate has. You talked about her speed, but really that playmaking ability is what it comes down to, and then able to finish it off.
Absolutely, she's setting herself up nicely. And when the ball is coming out of the air like that, it's very difficult to try and adjust your body to it and control it nicely right down into your feet into a comfort zone. But her first touch in settling the ball when it comes to that, she's doing a fantastic job with those over-the-top balls and setting herself up perfectly for those two goals that we've had today.
Shot taken right there, but just wide of that post. That shot was by Riley Howard. So with that, Olivia Wingate will be subbed out. Berkeley Mensick comes on to take her role, but I think she's able to go to the bench feeling pretty good about these last 5 to 10 minutes. Able to find the back of the net twice, John. And that's that firepower that Notre Dame wants to build a team on. You talked about Coach Norman's press conference the other day. He said, we want to be the fastest team in the country. We want to run the most out of everyone. And these last 5 minutes, they've really showcased that.
Absolutely. I mean, Berkeley Mensick coming in. It's her first appearance today. She's already got fresh legs, so she's going to be continuing that deep ball threat that Olivia Wingate has set up for her. Here's a chance for Wisconsin to try and get their own tack start on this set piece here.
That one stopped by Mackenzie Wood. Looks like in that UCLA Duke game, Duke just notched the score at 1. They're still in the first half over there down in Durham, North Carolina, so a lot more exciting soccer going on across the country as well between some of the top. Or rips a shot into the hands of Wood.
Nice attempt by Wisconsin to go up the line there. They're going to need it right now with 20 minutes left, down 2. Nothing right now. Still a little bit of time to try and claw this one, claw their way back.
Menzik able to hustle there and win that possession for Notre Dame. It's little plays like that that make the difference in a 90-minute contest. And Berkeley Menzik using her speed on that one.
And for the Badgers, number 11, Riley Philbin, and number 23, Ashley Martinez.
Notre Dame is in the box, shot taken into the hands and deflected away by McKinney. That was Maddie Mercado applying the pressure.
Talked about creating opportunities there by Menza, keeping the ball in. And this is what it gives the Irish, is another solid attempt by Maddie Mercado there, beating the defenders to the ball, getting a solid shot off against McKinney.
Corner kick coming from Katie Coyle. Ellie Ospek nearly had a chance near the goalie box. Big collision between Jaskinek and Klinke. Jaskinek comes out on top, and now Wisconsin has a chance to run. They got 2 players up ahead. Here's Vigiano working up against Hudson. She takes her time and is able to give the Notre Dame defense some time to regroup. Riley Philbin working one-on-one against Leah Klinke. As Klinke showing off her defensive capabilities as well, able to deflect that one out of play. So corner kick coming up for Wisconsin. It'll be their 3rd of the contest.
A little bit of a missed opportunity there by Vigiano when she got the ball, being a long ball send in from the halfway point. Just couldn't quite get it settled down and keep her momentum going, which allowed the Notre Dame defense to get back and cover.
McConnell sends it towards the box. Headed away. And Notre Dame may escape that Wisconsin attack right here. It's been one of the biggest stories of the night. Wisconsin with a few really dangerous attacks for this Notre Dame defense, but that back line and Mackenzie Wood, they've stood strong to the test that Wisconsin have given them tonight.
Absolutely. More shots been put on Notre Dame than usual, but they've been able to cover them very easily. Wisconsin's going to need to play a little bit quicker, especially with the time winding down. They're going to need to create a little bit more, create some more opportunities and keep possession of the ball more. They want to stay competitive in this contest.
Yeah, and Wisconsin's defense is, played in such a good manner as well. We've talked about all the saves tonight that McKinney has had to make, but those 2 goals from Wingate really came down to speed. I mean, a big-time pass up ahead, and Wingate got in a one-on-one situation where she's able to use her speed, and when you have no defenders there to block the shot of Wingate, it's really tough as a goalkeeper for a scorer like Wingate to be stopped in a situation like that.
Not just speed, but just relentlessly going at the defense. I mean, that's going to wear, especially as a defender, that's going to wear you down at some point. As we see the Fighting Irish come back
Here's
in.
Van Zanten. She goes to that right foot, rips a shot, and it's saved by McKinney.
Again, the Irish barraging McKinney with shots. McKinney holding her own there against Van Zanten's outside ball.
Notre Dame able to fire off 11 shots on goal tonight. They average 12.75 per game. That ranks 3rd nationally. On your screen, you see Christina Lynch. She's a transfer from Florida State, is out with an injury right now. But, John, when she comes back, she's one of those players who Notre Dame is going to value so much, going to join their midfield position. And they're going to have even more firepower when Lynch is able to come back and join the squad.
Absolutely. I mean, so far, Notre Dame has been successful with the style they're running, with the roster they have, but Christina Lynch is almost kind of like a howitzer still sitting on the sideline waiting to be put in. I mean, who knows how many more goals she can create and more opportunities that the Notre Dame offense can create with her being put in.
Absolutely. This Notre Dame team going to get a lot stronger when Lynch is fully healthy. She also brings that championship mindset. I mean, at Florida State, 2-time NCAA champion, not to mention the reigning national champion. So she knows what it takes to win on a big-time level. And that's something Coach Norman is excited about to have her with. And she's able to, do that from the sidelines as well. So it's definitely have an impact on this 4-0 start to the season Notre Dame has had.
Absolutely. Not only does she bring that mindset, but also brings it to the locker room. When they go deep into games, when they play those tight games, especially like we said with the loaded ACC, we talked about it, #1 UNC and #2 Duke. She can bring that type of settling mindset, that calming attitude to the locker room to keep players in check, especially new freshmen like Leah Klinke, who may not have played at such a high level at the college stage. And that can also help in the NCAA tournament. They try and make a deep run to keep themselves focused on the task at hand, focus on one game at a time, not trying to think about results, just focusing on their role during the game.
Olivia Wingate just checked back into the game, actually, as you saw her on her screen get hit with an offsides call. Was in search of goal number 3 as that pass just a little bit too far ahead of Bohr. There's Wisconsin with an opportunity, looking to press. It's nearly cleared away by Klinke, but possession is retained. Here's Jaskinik's shot on goal, and boom, Wisconsin makes it a 1-goal game. Emma Jaskinik stays hot, and records her 3rd goal of the season, and it couldn't have come at a bigger time with 11 minutes left. Wisconsin not dead yet.
Absolutely, and as we go to the replay here to cover what happened, it's just a simple takeover of possession and just a deflection there, and Jaskinek is in the right position at the right time to take advantage of the opening seam that was created. Just deflecting off Wood, going in. That's giving life into this Wisconsin offense as they go right back in it and try to tie this game up as we near 10-minute mark left of this game.
Well, you need a big-time goal. Who else do you look for? Your senior leader and leading goal scorer, Emma Jaskinek. And that's just what she brings to the table. Able to notch goal number 3 on the season. Jaskinek's one of those players who rarely leaves the field. Played over 2,000 minutes last season. Has been doing pretty much the same this year for the Badgers, as that shot was fired off by Mercado, but easy save for McKinney. But Jaskinek, ever since her freshman year, she's been a leader for this Wisconsin team. She started 21 of 22 matches as a freshman during her rookie season. Was named to the All Big Ten freshman team this year on the Big Ten players to watch preseason list.
Absolutely. I mean, she's been a critical part of this offense, and not just as a goal scorer, but also just as a flexible player. Which Paula said that she really works hard in understanding the different roles that she can play, especially with the flow of the game. Understanding the game situation, where she needs to be at the right time, was really critical, and it showed up right there as she got a goal-scoring opportunity.
And with that, that'll be Notre Dame's first goal they allowed all season long. So it took nearly 5 matches for an opponent of Notre Dame's to find the back of the net, but it comes via Wisconsin, the toughest opponent they've had to deal with all season, John. And you mentioned it was kind of a breakdown defensively. Mackenzie Wood tried her best as we take another look at the goal now.
Just a simple deflection there that just was not calculated by the Notre Dame defense, and just opened up an opportunity for Jaskinek, who's right in that opening, to get the ball and score.
Here's Corbin Albert dribbling by just about everyone on the Wisconsin defense. Being really patient here. She'll send it towards the middle. Header, and it's in the back of the net. Maddie Mercado, 4th goal of the season, and it gives Notre Dame a 3-1 advantage late in this game versus Wisconsin.
Just great overall teamwork being displayed by Notre Dame here. We see Albert here really showing off her footwork, just her individual skill level, and then opening up space to give her enough space to hit that cross with her left foot, and Mercado timing it well so that she just hits the ball at a perfect moment, getting it in the back of the net to give that 1-goal insurance late in the game against a formidable opponent.
How about that, John? I mean, Wisconsin comes down with Emma Jaskinek. They, decreased the lead of Notre Dame to 1 goal. And then just like that, less than 2 minutes later, Notre Dame answers, and they get a big-time insurance goal and totally change the complexion of this game as we take another look. Corbin Albert really controlling the pace right there. Slows things down when she needs to, and then makes a beautiful pass to Mercado, who was cutting down the box, and finds that right side of the goal.
Absolutely, and Olivia Wingate was there right in the center to try and get her head on the ball if it was missed by Mercado, but Mercado's there, cleans it up. Goes to show that this Notre Dame offense is relentless. They will not stop until the clock hits 0.
Neither will Wisconsin. 8 minutes left. They need a quick score to bring it back down to a 1-goal difference. As Jaskinek is back in the box, she gets a touch, but loses it. You know, it's funny, John. Mercado comes into the game with 3 goals, Notre Dame's leader. She has her teammate Olivia Wingate score 2 and now take over the team goal and leads. And what does she do? She scores a goal as well. You know, it's almost like a competition, if anything, a really good competition for these Notre Dame forwards to be able to challenge each other. And they both now have 4 goals on the season.
And they're getting set up really nicely by their midfield. Klinke, Drazina, and Albert have really done a really good job of really just setting them up beautifully with those either over-the-top balls or just simple crosses into the box. Mercado and Wingate are just using their speed just to follow up what they give them.
Wisconsin, the defense and goalkeeper and Aaron McKinney that have been really, really tough to score on all season long. And finally, Notre Dame is kind of the one who scores 3 goals on them. That's the most Wisconsin has allowed all season long. And this is a huge test for Notre Dame. You know, they come into this game 4-0, having really dominated their opponents in terms of ball possession and shots allowed and shots they've taken on goal. And then Wisconsin able to give them a good test today. They find themselves in a 1-goal game late. And Maddie Mercado steps up to the table. It's really something they can bring with as they go into ACC play and continue their tough 2022 slate.
Absolutely. I mean, it showed right there. I mean, they're up 2-0. All of a sudden it becomes 2-1. They get in their mindset, all right, we got to get back. We got to fire back. And immediately, right after the goal was scored, they immediately answer. That's something that they can take advantage of, especially moving forward, like you said, in the ACC.
And Notre Dame outscoring their opponents 14-1 this season so far through nearly 5 matchups. And that's that ruthless offense you hear head coach Nate Norman of Notre Dame preach over and over again to his squad.
Ashley Zugay there trying to get a possible shot off as the goalie as McKinney was on the ground. Thereafter blocking up Klinke's cross.
Wingate wants one more. Why not? Hat trick, Olivia Wingate. The speed of Olivia Wingate creates a goal for Notre Dame, and they're up 4-1 over the 22-ranked Badgers of Wisconsin.
This Irish offense is showing that they can even compete with elite competition. Right off that goal kick, they win the possession. That simple header just gets behind the defense that's just staying a little bit too far up. And that allows Olivia Wingate to just beat them with raw speed. And a couple touches there, and boom, she gets her 3rd goal of the night.
Hat trick for Olivia Wingate. And it's all been in this second half for Notre Dame. We go from a 0-0 first half to now 5 goals scored in total in this second half. And it's been fun. It's been a lot of fireworks on both sides. And that's that Notre Dame speed that we talked about earlier in the game. It comes later in the game when this Wisconsin defense is a little bit more worn down, a little bit more tired out. And Notre Dame, we talked about their depth. They're able to use it to their advantage by having those fresh legs.
Absolutely. With the defense being a little bit tired, especially after playing 87, 86 minutes of play. Mentally, you may be a little bit down, so you may not be as aware of things as you might not have been at the beginning of the game. And just like we saw right there with the defense maybe stepping up a little bit too much, maybe the midfielders not being aware of not winning the ball there, just a simple mental error there can just convert into another goal.
Absolutely. That'll go down as Olivia Wingate's first career hat trick. And it comes in a huge matchup against a really, really good Wisconsin team that has a defense that's tough to crack. Coach Norman's got one issue, though, John. You know what that is? Olivia Wingate may be getting an offer to Notre Dame's track and field team after this contest. I mean, if they're in need of a sprinter, they got their girl right there. Just all 3 goals by her were created by speed, honestly. And, you know, that was that first touch. And then from there, it was, you know, all scoring ability. But the fact of her getting in that position was created by her speed. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. You talk about track and field, possibly the cross-country team. I mean, she's got the speed. She's also got the longevity to last this long. 87 minutes of play. She's still going full throttle, not stopping at all, showing no signs of tire. That kind of gets into the head. That might get in your head sometimes as a defender. You see that the offense isn't going to stop. And it might put you down a little bit, make you think, oh, man, I got to keep going. I got to keep battling against this just relentless offense. And that's what Coach Norman's offense can do to defenses. They just keep going at it. Almost knocking on the door, beating against the door of that defense to try and get another goal against them.
Well, following this contest, Notre Dame's got a tough matchup on the road in Bloomington. They'll be taking on the Indiana Hoosiers, and after that, they'll stay in the state of Indiana, but it won't be at Alumni Stadium. It'll be down in West Lafayette, Indiana. So 2 tough road games, in-state road games for this Notre Dame team coming up after this contest. But a lot of confidence coming out of this game should the score stay where it is. Meanwhile, for Wisconsin, they'll also be staying in the state of Indiana, but they'll be playing the Butler Bulldogs down in Indianapolis Sunday at noon. And then they'll head home and take on Milwaukee and Northern Illinois before beginning Big Ten play versus the Iowa Hawkeyes.
See Coach Paula here, and she was saying, especially with these non-conference matches, this is a time where players, young and old, but especially as a team, these are times when they can learn together and understand each other and just build off what they did wrong, what they did right before they hit that conference play where it's going to really matter in the end.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is an incredible game played by Notre Dame tonight. I mean, this is a Wisconsin team that opened up the season in Texas with 2 straight road matchups in, 95-plus heat. One of them at TCU, who we mentioned, arguably one of the best teams in the country. And, they held them to 0 goals. And then they come up here to Notre Dame, 0-0 matchup through 1 half. And then Notre Dame breaks through, and that really speaks volumes to this Notre Dame team. Wisconsin defense is, as we know, really, really good. They have an extremely talented goalkeeper in Aaron McKinney, who most likely will have an incredible season for the Badgers. But it really, speaks volumes for what this Notre Dame team is capable this season, John.
Absolutely. And Coach Norman in his press conference, they went from a top 30 to a top 15 team last year, and they retained almost all their stars. They lost Sammy Fisher at the forward position, but they've gotten a lot more back. They've gotten Leah Klinke coming in. We have Christina Lynch still on the sideline. And they're making a really sending a really good message that they going from top 15 to possibly top 5. And that's the vision that Coach Norman has with this team. He sees them as one of the top teams in the nation, and right now they're playing like it.
Wisconsin with a late push. That one saved by Mackenzie Wood. So 10 seconds left in this contest. Notre Dame will take this by a score of 4-1 over Wisconsin. So Wisconsin moves to 2-1-2 on the season, and Notre Dame stays unbeaten at 5-0. Final wrap-up, John. What do you got for me?
Well, the reason for staying unbeaten is all because of Olivia Wingate. Olivia Wingate really showed off her speed today with that nice little hat trick that really kept her team alive.